Hello everyone, my name is Comic Maker, and in today's video we'll be taking a look at Snotgirl by Bryan Lee O'Malley and Leslie Hung. So let's get drawing. Ah, Snotgirl. This comic is a beautiful, dramatic, and mysterious roller coaster, and I really enjoy it. Currently, Snotgirl has 2 volumes, and of course, because it's in volumes, there are also single issues you can buy. It is also currently an ongoing series at the time of this video. I originally read volume 1 when it first came out a few years ago, and loved reading it, but found some of it was kind of confusing at first. But while looking through some of my comics to decide what to review this week, I decided to give it another go after buying the second volume. The art in the series alone is what had me buying it initially, so that definitely had me eager to reread the first volume and dive into the second one. Just looking at the pages of these books, you can see lots of pretty stuff going on, but this series is so much more than that, so let's dive into the plot. Snotgirl is about a fashion blogger named Lottie living in LA who has it all together. She has over 2 million followers, brand deals, an unpaid intern, but this is all her online persona. In real life, Lottie has a snotty secret. She has crazy allergies and her life isn't as perfect as you would think. She and her longtime boyfriend just broke up, her friends are all self-absorbed and flaky, although she is too, and something crazy happens to the cool girl that she just met that she wants to be friends with. All this while balancing her blogging life, parties, and an ex-intern who is dating her ex. What's a pretty girl to do? Well, we will get more into that in the spoiler section. Now, before you ask about the word snot in Snotgirl, I'll tell you now, it is exactly as the word describes. There is no joke about Lottie's allergies. In fact, they seem to consume her life. So much so that she was willing to take an experimental new drug that has some side effects affecting her memory. But once again, we'll talk about that as we get into spoilers. What is interesting about this story to me is that typically the main character is usually my favorite. The main character is usually the one you root for in the story. You want them to succeed and find happiness, but in Snotgirl, the characters are not people you want to root for. Or at least, if you met them in real life, you would probably not want to befriend them. Admire them for their beauty and entrepreneurial prowess, sure, but all these fashion bloggers are so selfish and self-absorbed. Despite how nasty Lottie can get though, I still find myself hoping that she learns from the life that she's going through and finds some sort of happiness. Something I didn't think I would feel for her considering the way she talks to people and some of the actions she makes in this series. So despite the girls not necessarily being likable through the whole 2 volumes, I was still invested into what was going to happen to them. My god, this comic is gorgeous. Though the comic is written by Bryan Lee O'Malley, the art is done primarily by Leslie Hung along with artists Mickey Quinn and Mare Onomo. I hope I said that right. Together they make a comic with beautiful girls, clothes, and colors. Oh my god, the art is pretty to look at. Leslie has a way of drawing comics that reminds me of 80s and 90s style shoujo manga with really delicate, beautiful girls, long, lanky limbs, and eyelashes that fake lashes would be jealous of. Every page has someone or something pretty to look at. This is not only because of the gorgeous art style, but also the coloring. The colors are light and bright, and I love the line art quality, especially since all the characters have these nice thick black lines, which you guys know I love, while the line art inside on things like muscles or like the clavicles on the characters and clothes are all lines with colors instead of black. It makes everything look graphic like a comic, but also very soft, cohesive, and pleasant to look at. Oh, you know what time it is. It's spoiler time. If you're interested in reading Snotgirl, and don't want some plot points revealed, mute the video until this time or skip ahead. With that, let's get into it. So, wow, this story. I found that this story seems to go in many different directions thematically. Every time I thought I knew what direction it was heading towards, something would happen that would make me think otherwise. At first, I thought Snotgirl would be just a drama-filled story from a fashion blogger perspective, but then Lottie meets a cool girl that she really wants to be friends with. But then this girl straight up dies right in front of her, and things get crazy. A detective is introduced, and I thought, ooh, a murder mystery, this would be cool. But then it turns out the girl who died isn't dead, I guess. But the main character, Lottie, sure can't remember anything at first because she's taking a new drug being tested to help her with her crazy allergies that make her forget things and sometimes hallucinate, I guess. I then thought that maybe the cool girl is dead and that Lottie is just seeing her, and I thought that would be super interesting, but nope. Everyone else can end up seeing her too, so she really isn't dead. But so far, it's kind of been explained, but not. There's some pieces that are missing, I think, so far. But then there's this drama with Lottie's ex-boyfriend and his new girlfriend, who seems to be obsessed with Lottie and was actually an old intern of hers named Charlene. Then there's a convention and Lottie forgets her meds and starts hallucinating and sees a ghost and dreams about cool girl's brother killing the ghost girl, and I'm like, what is going on? I don't know anymore. There are so many pieces that seem to be connected in the story that don't make much sense at the moment. But Bryan Lee O'Malley, in my opinion, has a tendency to start stories that seem like a normal plot, kind of, and then they get really crazy and sometimes confusing for a long time, and then they all come together and make so much more sense at the end, to the point where I finished the book thinking, oh my god, that was so cool. I felt this way reading Scott Pilgrim and his other book, Seconds, but let me tell you, Snotgirl is a ride up until this point. Currently there is so much going on, so many plot elements that, when explained, sound crazy, but I know once the series wraps up, it will all come together and make sense. But man, I had to burst about it here, about all the things that are currently going on in this comic. And that's not even everything. There are some love triangle things, there's obsessions, there's cheating, it's all going on. So currently I will have to wait on my full thoughts until the whole story is completed. But in the meantime, it is, like I said, a heck of a ride, and I'm totally here for it. Snotgirl is an experience. Does it always make sense? No. Is it always beautiful? Yes. Does it grip you completely throughout? Definitely. But would I recommend it for readers? Yes and no. This comic is rated Teen Plus, and for very good reason. There are many adult-themed elements in this comic that are definitely not for younger readers by any means. But also, I think that some adults might find themselves having a hard time. If you don't like stories where a large majority of the characters are selfish and mean and that irks you a lot, I would not suggest you read it. But if the art captivates you, you like a good mystery, or you're a big fan of comics or Bryan Lee O'Malley, then I definitely suggest you read this comic. I know that I will definitely be sticking around until the very end. For the art in this graphic novel review, I decided that I wanted to draw Snotgirl herself, Snotty Lottie. I struggled with this drawing a lot for some reason and made a lot of different thumbnails before going with this idea. Originally, in my sketches, I had her focusing on her phone while snot rained down on her, but with some of the story elements in this comic, I wanted to include the blood. So while Lottie is blocking the snot with her umbrella, she is focusing on the blood dripping down, which is kind of reminiscent of what is happening in the comics. This design is probably one of the more simple ones I've done for a graphic novel review, but despite my struggles with it, I think I like how it came out a lot. It's simple, and if you've read the comic, you'll get the gist of what it's trying to convey. Well, that's it for me this week, guys. What do you think of my drawing, and what do you think of Snotgirl? Based on what I've said, do you think you might give this book a shot? Let me know in the comments down below. Videos like this are made possible because of my amazing patrons and people like you watching, so thank you all so much for your support. I appreciate you all stopping by, and I hope that we can draw together again soon. Bye, guys.